Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be doing some magazine images and creating magazine images of our own. And this is inspired by the artwork of Teesha Moore and Di Reevely and anyone else who does magazine collages. They're just lots of fun to do. So this is in my large Dina Wakley journal. And I had these two gel prints on my page that I've had for so long, and I really like them, but I didn't know what to do with them, particularly because they didn't fill up the whole page and it really bugged me. So I decided that I would do a magazine collage, because one of the things I tend to do with all my magazine collages, and it sort of is the same for Di Reevely and Teesha Moore, that's sort of where I've seen it happen. They tend to always frame their magazine collages with some scrap papers. I really love that technique, and it was a great way to cover up that white space that I didn't want by putting this frame of mixed and matched papers around my page to highlight that gel print in the middle, but to cover up the bits that I didn't want to see. So all I did was got some double-sided tape and just put the tape down where I wanted to go, and I've got my borders selection of collage bits and pieces, which anything I've got left over gets chucked in there. If there's printables I've cut up or old magazine images, so you can see there's a bit of a photo on there. Anything goes on there. The next thing I tend to do once I finish that is go through with some washi tape just to sort of add some detail. And I tend to tear my washi tape up into little strips, and you can see by just adding that little bit of black on just gives you that pop of colour. I really love to use sort of metallics and like glitter tapes as well on these types of pages. It just adds that little bit of sparkle and interest onto your border when you're finished. When I've finished sort of playing around with all my washi tape that I want to use, I go in with some paint pens. I'm actually going around with a black permanent marker and really defining the edge of that border. And I find that doing that really sort of makes a difference between the foreground and the background. Now I'm going in with some paint pens and just adding some extra colour onto the page. And this is where your really thick paint pens come in really handy, or chalk markers or anything you've got. The colours don't need to be colours that you've used on the page. It's just adding extra mark making into the background and sort of blending everything together so it looks like it belongs together. So these are quite wide paint pens, so I actually just use the sort of side of the nib to do this. Now, if you didn't want to get all caught up with, lots of strips of paper and stuff, even as simple as just painting a black border and then just doing stripes of white over the top looks really, really effective. So you can, or just using washi on its own and making your own little border. So if you check out Di Reevely or Teesha Moore on Instagram, you'll see lots and lots of examples of how they do it. And if you look up magazine collages, you'll probably see lots of examples of lots of people doing similar things. So for this page, I found this really cool image in a fashion magazine. I just really loved the way she was standing. And it was really sort of graphic. At this stage, while I knew I wanted to do a magazine collage, I didn't really know what else I was going to do with it. I was just playing around. So one of my favourite things to do is to change the lips and the eyes. And I do realise with the glare it's a little bit hard to see, but she's got bright pink lips and her eyes are much too big for her head. I've also got this little quote to the side that says, "Sorry, madam, I'm flat out right now," which I thought sort of fitted in well. But this is probably the main reason why I really like this page, and it's one thing that I tend to do a lot with my magazine images is once I finish sort of collaging them together is actually going in with a paint pen over the top and just making them my own. So yes, she has a blue and red shirt on, but now she's got green stripes all over it just because. And it just makes everything a little bit more funky. It means that you've added your own artwork onto the page as well, and you can kind of, particularly if you're really struggling with a particular colour on a page, you can recolour things or add colours in that makes everything work together. So you can really customise your own little bit of artwork so it works. If I wanted to, I could, stamp onto her stomach or do something and give her some tattoos. You know, there's no limit to what you can do. You know, she's got a pair of jeans on there, but now she's got striped pants. So anything can go. The other thing that you can do is, while this is a fairly simple magazine collage, you can sort of cut off heads and put them on dogs' bodies, or, you know, give her a hat, or anything you can possibly think of, just to make these really stand out. Now I'm just going in with a food ball pen just to highlight the edges of my drawing that I've done, and I really like sort of the graphic quality that gives. It gives it almost like it's a cartoon drawing, sort of having the colour and then the black lines on it. Just be aware when you're doing it with a food ball pen, however, it does take a little while to dry, so just keep your hand away from it because you will smear it, and probably just using a regular permanent marker would be safer. It's not going to smear as much. So this is where you can just keep going till you're happy, really. I decided that I want to make her eyes a bit of a focus, so I've just made darker eyelids, made her got winged eyes and really big eye, I was going to say eyebrows, eyelashes. So you can add those in too. I decided I really like that saying, even though it doesn't quite fit in her top, I thought I'd stick that down too. So it kind of added to the whole theme of what I was doing. One of my favourite things to do when I do a magazine collage though, and again this comes back to sort of the Teesha Moore and Di Reevely collages, is to put some sort of quote with my page. And the quotes often are a bit snarky, because usually I'm in a pretty snarky mood when I'm doing things like this. But they sort of are really graphic, and the quotes or the writing really add into what you're doing. So I just use a wet wipe on my face because I just smudged it, so I've put some paper there to make sure I don't. Again, with a lot of these things, if they're still damp, you can wet wipe them off because it hasn't set yet. So you do have a little bit of working time if you really do put your hand in it. So I'm just using a permanent marker and kind of working around my image so that I can fit everything in, which means that the size of my text is changing depending on the space. I would prefer to write the whole word in. Sometimes I do have to break it up to fit it in. I would usually prefer to get the whole word in. So you can see that my I've made quite wide, but the much I had to make quite small. So the quote that I chose this page, I've learned so much from my mistakes. I'd like to make a few more, I think. I'm thinking about making a few more. And I really love that quote because I learn through mistakes. Most of us do. And it's through working through your mistakes that you can find the creative solutions. And that's one thing that really I love about being creative, because I love coming up with creative solutions to things. And if I make a mistake and I come up with something else, that makes me really happy, and it makes me feel really accomplished when it's like, oh, that was going the wrong direction, but wow, look at what I've done now. So it's something that I really encourage. I encourage when I'm teaching classes. I definitely encourage in my primary school classroom with the kids I teach, because so many people these days, that's a big generalization, I suppose, but I see it a lot in the classroom, that there are so many kids coming through who get really upset when they make a mistake because it's not perfect the first time, and it's a big teaching moment for them. It's like, that's okay, you know, everyone makes mistakes. J.K. Rowling submitted her manuscript to 26 different publishers before someone thought it was good enough to publish, and look where she is now. So in every walk of life, learning from mistakes and being resilient enough to work through them is a really, really important life skill to have. So it's something that I definitely encourage, and every day in my art practice and in everything I do, I really relish in making mistakes and fixing my mistakes. I suppose that's the important part, acknowledging that you have made a mistake and fixing it. Because obviously if you make a mistake and don't do anything about it, you're not going to learn anything from it. So that's what my journaling's about on the opposite side, just about how much and how important this is to my learning and what I believe about it. So it kind of worked out really, really well in the end. And I really loved how it kind of just balanced it off itself really easily. So you've got that really cool image of the woman in the middle. You can see her bright red lips and her odd eyes, that gorgeous quote, and the journaling as well to explain where I'm coming from. And you'll notice on this page that the journaling I've done is readable. And if I don't mind sharing it with people, I make my journaling readable because I can go back and read it again. If it's something really personal to me, I usually use that scribbly writing, so only I can read it, and even sometimes then I can't read it. So when you're writing on your journal page, just choose who you think your audience is going to be, and if it's a message you don't mind sharing with other people or not. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it inspired you to have a go and make your own magazine images your own by adding extra lines and paint to them. Until next time, bye for now.